let's continue with the class. In this case, we'll define a bit the lines. I think on this class, we'll create some lines on the arms, the chest and the back, which will serve as guides for the volumes we'll insert on coming classes. First, define the deltoid. We had already made a little sketch. We'll mark it using a thinner line. So, using NAM standard, I'll add some lines. And normally, also using clay and clay tubes, I'll start adding some material. In this case, I'm kind of struggling for visualizing the character transparent and then revert it all around the draw panel. So what I'd rather do is to customize the user interface. From Preferences and Configuration, I'll enable the customization in order to add those buttons to the interface. So in that way, speed up the process. I think it's good to personalize the interface according to what is being made. Usually, an artist has a different layout for every process. For instance, if the artist is working on a character modeling, he uses an interface customized for that purpose. If he is texturing, then he customizes the interface for texturing. Each time, depending on what he's doing, he loads a different interface that customizes ZBrush for that specific process. There are different people on different roles, and that makes the job way easier. So, at this stage we start defining a bit the posterior deltoid muscle and also the lines of those three muscles. I always tend to apply the strokes according to the knowledge I've got on anatomy, what we've seen on the previous courses. But I also check that the location and height of that modeling corresponds to the reference images loaded in the draw panel. So, we have to constantly check all that information. It's not about applying only the knowledge, neither about only following the references. Keep both in mind. Otherwise, it would be like, looking at the references only, it's difficult to understand the 3D aspect for the musculature. For instance, the forearm is difficult, and it's not easy to understand how those muscles are shaped. We get the hang of it with experience plus watching carefully the references. It's just, I needed to record this class quickly, and somebody has changed the UI. I didn't load my preferences for being in a rush, but it shouldn't be that way. Next time, I load my UI in advance before recording the class. Sometimes I was looking for the brush inflate, and it wasn't handy. Over here, I've got a problem regarding symmetry. The problem is that everything I'm modeling on the right arm is not mirroring properly on the left arm. Let's not worry about that, since we can fix it easily, and we'll cover everything about symmetry in a single class. The way the mirror is set at the beginning, we'll repeat it several times from now on, for making sure the symmetry is applied correctly. So don't worry, that is important. Don't worry if we spoil the mesh. That can happen, but we've got the tools for fixing the mesh. Alright, I'm defining over here shapes of the abs, taking into account that the shapes correspond to the Batman image. Those pectorals, also that the fibers we generate, follow and keep the anatomy guidelines. Not simply adding volume randomly, but we should always try to make the fibers correspond to the anatomy of the muscles. Let's add some more volume. I think at this point could be good to start defining a bit, for instance some muscles on the back, in order to have a general visualization of the musculature, the volume of the muscles all around the character. Since this character is bigger and more muscular than the previous character we've made on the previous courses, then it's a good idea to start making them. Notice in this case I'm copying directly the location of the muscles using the reference of the image I've got projected. So we don't rely only on the notions, but I can also be guided to know where the lines go. Where the latissimus dorsi ends, where the lumbar muscles start, all these kind of muscles. So I simply define according to that reference the location where it should be and start adding the volumes. I try to be practical in some occasions. Anyways, at the end, I'll need the model to be exactly as the Batman we've got. Alright, let's take a pause over here, let's take a rest for a while, and we'll continue in the next class.